Good evening and welcome to the August 26th, 2024 West Clermont School Board meeting. Mr. Romano, will you take roll, please?
Mr. Patton.
Present.
Mr. Rudy.
Present.
Mr. Chumley.
Present.
Ms. Sanborn.
Present.
Mrs. Spencer.
Present.
All present?
Thank you. If you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next up, we have a motion to adopt the agenda. I will put that in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Mr. Romano?
Mr. Patton.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley.
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. At this point, who am I turning the recognition to? Oh, all right, Mr. Padova.
I'm over here. So we have a lot to recognize tonight, a lot to honor people that are here tonight. Some of these things happen kind of at the end of the year. Some of them are happening over the summer, and some of them are still going. But we're really excited. Anytime that we can bring staff in to recognize them, you guys get a chance to meet them. We'll do this afterwards as well. It just shows the direction that we're going as a district. We have great people. We have great staff, we have great students, we have a great community. So we have a couple people that are going to introduce the award winners or the people we're recognizing, and we're going to bring the middle school up first. Jessica West, our associate principal at the middle school, is going to come forward and is going to introduce her recipients.
So I am delighted to introduce 4 staff members who have been recognized at the state level for their remarkable performance and achievements here in West Clermont. So first, Rita Ford. She's our gifted and talented teacher at West Clermont Middle School. Her career of over 3 decades has left a lasting impact on the students and staff of our school district. As a gifted intervention specialist, she ensures that every learning opportunity in her classroom is designed to challenge and engage students at the highest level, fostering curiosity and academic excellence. Mrs. Ford is the recipient of the 2024 Jennings Master Teacher of the Year Award for the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation. This past July, she was recognized at the Jennings Educators Summit in Cleveland and was awarded $7,500 to fund a project of her own choosing focused on deep learning. And that will be in her expedition courses at WCMS.
Why don't you hold up your check and share a little bit about that?
Well, I have to let you know, this was kind of comical. I was in the elevator with my mom at the event, and all of these people were gathering in this elevator with me, and my check was turned the other way, so I was standing like this, and everyone's like, did you just win the lottery? And what you did not hear was I won an additional $1,000 that the board gave me at the final send-off of their celebration, just for anything I would like to use for my classroom, anything additional I might need. So it was really $8,500. So it was really incredible.
Well, and I have one little thing that I want to add. Well, you go ahead and take that picture.
Okay, sorry. Oh my goodness.
You go ahead. So this is a poster that Nina Johnson gave to me, Dr. Nina Johnson, who is a retired staff member in West Clermont, who happens to be the mother of Rena Ford. Nina taught with us at West Clermont for how many years were you in the district? 32 years. And she passed on this legacy to her daughter, who also is an alumni student of West Clermont. And so you're seeing a legacy family here. And this is a story that was done in the paper that was showing the passing of the baton from the daughter, or from the mother to the daughter. And look what great celebration we can have tonight to honor that legacy of you both and to celebrate the wonderful gifts you've given West Clermont for all these years.
Okay, so next we have Mary Hufford who teaches 8th grade ELA, and Rena DuBois, who's an 8th grade intervention specialist at West Clermont Middle School. Mrs. Hufford and Mrs. DuBois exemplify the co-teaching that we hope to see in all of our classrooms, and their collaboration has resulted in significant growth and increased reading achievement among their students. So if you want to come up. They are the recipients of the George B. Milburn Teen Teachers Award of Excellence, and they were awarded $1,000 to support their classroom. All right, and then
Oh, Dennis is here.
Dennis. Sorry, couldn't find you. Lastly, Dennis Vance is our head custodian at WCMS. He demonstrates unwavering dedication to maintaining a safe and clean environment and ensures that every student and staff member at WCMS can thrive in a secure, welcoming school every day, including removing a snake from a classroom at about 6:30 this morning. He was awarded the Ohio School Safety Standout Award and was recognized in Columbus at the Ohio School Safety Summit this summer. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Greg Potabom. I'm here to recognize one of our teachers, Mrs. Dorman. Come on up here, Michelle. And just to show you what Michelle means to her students, we started this Educators Rising program, or this Teacher Academy, 2 years ago. And Michelle's had the program for 2 years now. And there's like so many accomplishments, right? How many state champions do we have?
Well, we have a first in the nation.
I was getting to that one. You stole the thunder. You're jumping the gun.
We have, in this room alone, 3.
Brooklyn's our national champion. Go ahead and stand up, Brooklyn.
First in the nation in lesson planning and delivery, which is really cool. And Maddox in the black shirt, he was top 10 in the nation in impromptu speaking. And
You know that makes perfect sense.
yes, it really
Yeah,
does.
that tracks.
And Tyler was top 10 in the state. He gave a TED talk, so it was kind of like an impromptu. We had a lot of students compete and did a great job.
So if there's any testament to a teacher, it's how their students feel about them. And if you just look at this group of people who are willing to take out their night and be here when they don't have to, this is the same group of young people that come to school when we have professional learning. And this is all, get over here, you need to be a part of this. This is all because of what Michelle does in our classroom. And if you ever get a chance to walk through our hallways, especially when the classes change, and you see Michelle interacting with her students, and see kind of the genuine care that she has for her students, there's no wonder that she's up for State Teacher of the Year. So Michelle won District 5 Teacher of the Year by the State Board of Education. She's now in the Final Four for State Teacher of the Year, and there couldn't be a better person to get this award. So thank you for that, Michelle.
Can I say just
You
one
say
thing?
whatever you want. You got the floor.
These lovely students, of course, are here to support me, but I asked them to be here tonight because this award really, I would not have this award if it were not for these students, and really for you all, for, just West Clermont being a place where we do things differently. Kids come in on off days, they teach teachers, so just thank you to all of you, and thank you so much to you.
Yeah, and before we recess, if there's any other people that were honored tonight who want to say a few words, not to put you on the spot, if you would like to, you are welcome to say, because this is a rare opportunity to get a moment with the board. So, all right.
Did you prepare a speech?
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Board of Education, Mrs. Adams, distinguished guests, I stand before you today with immense gratitude and humility after being awarded the Ohio Master Teacher of the Year, as well as receiving the monetary award given alongside this recognition. This recognition is not only the heart of my dedication to the district, but a testament to the dedication of so many individuals who have supported me along my journey. First and foremost, I would like to thank my husband and my parents who are here this evening, who have stood in my corner, given their love and encouragement, time, money, and resources to assist me and my students. To the Board of Education for this incredible opportunity and acknowledgement to even talk, your commitment to education, and your recognition of hard work for so many educators that put forth a really outstanding effort every single day is truly commendable. To my gifted family members and friends and colleagues for all you've done to be a constant sounding board for various ideas, perspective, and innovative services to our gifted students. It's an honor to be recognized among such a dedicated group of professionals who share profession and passion for nurturing the minds of our future generation. To Mrs. Ellie Preston. You've been a mentor, a guiding light. You've pushed me beyond boundaries I could ever imagine. You've inspired me to take risks. I'd also like to express my sincere appreciation. I promised I wasn't going to cry. I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to Mrs. Adams for your thoughtful nomination. Your belief in my capabilities remind me of the power of collaboration and importance to our community. This award is not just mine. As Mrs. Dorman just said, it belongs to all my students, past and present, who've taught me as much as I've taught them. It belongs to every teacher who goes above and beyond to make a difference in the lives of our students every single day. Together, we strive to create an environment where learning flourishes and curiosity is ignited. As I accept this high honor, I'm reminded of the profound impact that education can have on individuals and their communities. Let us continue to work together to inspire, to innovate, to uplift one another, and truly, again, thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you all. You really do represent the excellence from our students, the excellence of other educators who maybe didn't get an award tonight, but certainly are day in and day out dedicated, just as you are, and you really are that shining light, that inspiration and that example for us all to follow. So we are going to have the board go into a recess so that we can celebrate with some sugar.
So at this point, we will go into a just 10, 15-minute recess, and then we'll be back shortly.
Okay, all right, please join us.
Sugar. So we are back. We will start next with public speaking. I've been told that there are no cards back there, so we will move on to the consent agenda, which is the personnel agenda by Dr. Foltz.
All right, good evening. In front of you is the personnel agenda for August 26, 2024. On this agenda today, we have the retirement of Carrie Anderson, who was a third grade teacher at Summerside. She's going to retire at the end of this school year. She's been in education 24 years and with us 13, so we wish her well. We also have the resignation of 3 cafeteria workers, 2 paraprofessional aides, and 1 custodian. The agenda includes the proposed hiring of 1 teacher, 5 paraprofessional aides, and 1 campus coordinator. The agenda includes the proposed reassignment of a 1 3.5-hour cafe worker to a 6-hour cafe worker. On the agenda, we have the proposed approval for salary placement for those teachers continuing their education. We had 1 teacher move from a bachelor's to a master's, 1 moved from a master's to a master's plus 15, 1 moved from a master's to a master's plus 30, and 2 moved from master's plus 15 to master's 30. We're always excited when teachers continue their education because they bring back what they've learned to the classroom for our students. On this agenda, we have the proposed approval for supplemental contracts for wellness champions, master teacher committee, color guard choreography, Saturday school workers and coaches. We also have multiple leaves of absences, classified substitute personnel, and multiple school volunteers and student teachers. Finally, in the work beyond the contract section are the proposed approval for the payments to cooperating teachers, data and infrastructure support, and learning management systems and Schoology support. This concludes the review of the personnel agenda submission for your consideration.
Thank you. Looks like next will be in lieu of transportation. Mr. Lopata.
Good evening. I'm here to ask your approval for the in lieu of transportation request made by parents who opt out of our busing system. They receive a stipend for driving their child to and from private or parochial schools. The list total, I believe, was in error. I think it has been corrected. I believe you now have in your packet the corrected amount. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7.04 are the donations, and I will list the donors. Oh, approval of minutes, sorry, thank you. Item 7.03 first is the approval of minutes, and those are the minutes for the August 12th, 2024 regular business meeting. Item 7.04 are the donations, and I'll read the donors. First Baptist Church of Glen Estee, the Cincinnati Reds Community Fund, Great Oaks Joint Vocational, Clermont County Mental Health Recovery Board, Zimbal's Cook Shop, Philbox Incorporated, Withamsville Church of Christ, Mio's, Texas Roadhouse, Schoolstore.com, the Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority, and Bubble R. And those were the donations that we received up through the month of August. Item 7.05 are the employee insurance rates. The motion is to request approval of the resolution establishing the insurance premium rates for health, drug, and dental benefits through a self-insurance program effective January 1st, 2025 as presented. A little explanation on this. We belong to a consortium known as SWOOSH with 10 other school districts within our area. It is a quasi-hybrid self-insured program. So through the consortium, there are established premium rates per employee that we pay. Our rates are going up this January 1st. They are under our estimate. They're going up a little bit under 5% for that calendar year, which is a positive note for us. We expected those to go up higher, so it is positive that those rates aren't going up as high as expected. We use a third-party administrator for the health and drug, which is Anthem, and on the dental, it is MetLife for that. So annually, we request that those rates, which are going to be set for January 1, are approved by the board. Item 7.06 is request for approval of purpose and budget statements for this school year, and the one that is being submitted is for the preschool. It is a principal's fund that is for the collection of the fees from the regular students that are being enrolled. Item 7.07 request for approval and authorization for the superintendent and treasurer to negotiate and execute contracts as presented. There's a listing of contracts presented in this section, and there's also under the financials, contracts that were established for the month of July. The contracts in this section 7.07 are Smart Systems, Go Guardian, Scholastic Education Solutions, Weston, We Empower LLC, Grandview Group, Learn 21, and Julie Elmira. So it's a request that we approve those contracts that are listed. And the last item is item 7.08, that is the financial statements, the bills paid, and investments for the month of July as provided to the Board of Education. So the request on the consent agenda is item 7.01 through 7.08.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. You've heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Spencer. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question about 7.06. I noticed you have preschool Holly Hill and Willowville, but wouldn't Summerside also need to be included in that activity statement?
So within that principals fund, it's inclusive of all preschools that are in there.
Okay, but
Is that requested?
in just looking at this, the outside community wouldn't know that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Moving on to superintendent's business,
Is Ellie still in here?
pre-K.
Good evening from the corner over here. So at our last board meeting, we presented a first read of our preschool English language arts curriculum called Pre-K On My Way. Mrs. Sanborn, she took some time over the weekend to review the materials, which I very much appreciate. So I don't know if there's anything she would like to share with the board, but at this time we are we're requesting approval for our preschool English language arts curriculum, Preschool On My Way. It is a Scholastic product.
I would just like to say that the program looks very intense, very knowledgeable, and the students are going to have a lot of activities to do so that they can learn along the way. And I'm glad that we're doing it this year.
Thank you. So you have heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Chumley. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanborn. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Will you take roll, please?
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you.
Looks like we're turning it over to Mr. Gephardt.
Yes, thank you. So we're here in 2024, and we started this journey over a year ago. If you guys remember, I'm gonna take you back, and because you guys remember going to all the different buildings. And we spent the entire last year looking at our facilities, having our board meetings, doing our tours. We started a facilities town hall in November and January, and then we switched over and hired SHP, our architects, to come in and take us on a journey through our master facility plan. This is our CAT. We like to start things with CAT. We had CAC, and so the CAT is our parents, our community members, our staff. We had students there. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to steal some of their thunder, some of their slides. It's like I put it together and they're going to talk about it as well. But I just want to thank all those that participated, or people behind me that attended the CAT meetings. You attended the CAT meetings as well. Thank you guys for that. And it really is an effort. to go through this. It's a process, and it was a process that we started. And we have some volunteers or voluntoles or whatever you want to call it that decided they're going to be on our leadership team as we look down. And I've asked them when they do their part that they introduce themselves and their connection to West Clermont, because I think it's very, very important. So when you look at the viewpoint of the people that were in the room, I think it's critical to know where the responses come from. As we sit in 2024, we still have aging buildings. They're a year older. We're still out of space. We have sporadic enrollment. And through full transparency, we've got to make sure that we have every address gets the same opportunity, especially at the elementary. So we have some things to look at. And this presentation is a collection of all the things that we've done. And I'm going to turn it over to our team, and Steve is going to start us off.
Well, I have a question before we get started. What happened to 7.07 contracts? On the board agenda here, that's the next thing on the agenda.
No, we've already done all that. That was
Yeah,
in
we
the
did that.
consent.
It was in consent.
It was in a consent.
He
Did
went
it
through
all
all of
together.
those.
It was in
It
consent.
was in the consent.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
It's okay.
That's right. So before Steve, I've given the board, you have two packets. You have a shorter packet, that is the presentation you can follow along with as well. And then you have a large packet of information. That's a collection of all the data and all of the responses, and not all the responses, but the responses that we have put together. And so tonight, we're doing the presentation, and I would ask that we're gonna come back next month for questions, and you may have some questions that come up tonight as well. But it's gonna take a little bit of time to process through all of the data and all the information that we presented tonight to you. So I would ask the board to read through that. You'll have opportunities to talk to this group again at our next board meeting that may have questions that come to mind. So tonight is an information basis for you and to show you kind of the process that we went through. Now, Steve, take over.
So I asked Randy if I could start by asking you guys questions. He said, no, that's probably not the best idea. My name is Steve Shields. I've been in the district for 31 years, lived here. I have two children who both graduated from Glen Estee High School. I have 3 grandchildren in the school district now. So my wife and I feel like we're pretty well invested. One of the things I want to say thank you to this whole school district for is the town halls that have been presented. They have drawn us into the district and given us more information along the way. The reason I volunteered for this engagement was because I attended a town hall that was looking for people that were interested and wanted to get involved. So what's up here now is a community engagement slide. This is a review of who was involved in this process. The town halls are mentioned there. It did start with school building tours, but the committees were the Citizens Advisory Committee and the Community Advisory Team. We're members of the Community Advisory Team, and we began our work back in February. The CAC started, as Randy said, about a year ago. When we started, we had their information to go by, but our job was to sift through that and come up with more succinct recommendations than what they had come up. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Go to the next slide, which on your packet is the district facility challenges. Maybe there isn't a slide. As was mentioned already, the problems or the realities that we faced, the first was aging facilities versus new and upgraded. I think as you walk through or took tours through the buildings that we have in the school district, you can see quite a difference between the buildings that were built in the 60s and the new high school and also some of the newer elementary schools. As the students are moving through new technologies, I think it's absolutely necessary
that they have facilities that they can work in with the new technologies. They need that kind of environment to be able to really excel. Second was overcrowded schools and classrooms. That's a given. The classrooms now are being multifunctional. They're used for a lot of different things, but they weren't designed for that necessarily. So we'll be focusing on a couple of the, 3 of the different schools that are going to need upgrading and or replacement. Diverting funds, this is just something that the school district is doing. We're paying for maintenance on old buildings. We're replacing boilers. We're replacing expensive equipment. That money could be better used if we started over again with newer facilities, newer buildings, newer internal structure, a lot more up-to-date equipment. There's a lot of things that can break at this point that the parts are no longer manufactured, and that just adds cost on top of cost, plus delays. The next step is the inequitable facilities across the district. It has been noted by the teachers here, and I think also the students, that they have a different learning environment in some of the older buildings. In the newer buildings, they seem to be able to excel more. That was backed up by a study done by the AIA Architect. It's an association of architects. They have 80,000 members, 98,000 members across the U.S. Their studies came up in parallel with what we found here in the district. You need to have a good environment in order to learn. Inadequate modern spaces is the last thing. Not relevant to modern curriculum, inability to provide space for the whole learning services. That's where some classes are dedicated to a special needs student. That's the only student in the classroom. It's a waste of space. It also totally takes away the classroom for other uses. Inadequate spaces for diverse learner classroom, that's the same thing. So our presentation here looked at a lot of different problems that are in the school district. Our teams really sifted through that. As it showed on the schedule, we started in February. We put this together a few weeks ago. And I'd like to turn it over to Jane, and she'll take the next step.
Thank you, Steve. My name is Jane Lewis, and I just began my 29th year as an educator in this district. I'm a lifelong resident of this district. I am a graduate of this district, as are my parents. I have a son who graduated in 2019 and a daughter in 2022. And my son is currently a 4th-generation educator at the high school in his 2nd year and as a teacher in my family in West Clermont. So I'm pretty sure I'm vested. I don't think I'm going anywhere. So, but anyway, but I obviously have always cared about this district very much, and I very much care about the things that are happening, even though my kids are gone and done. I still plan to live here, and who knows, maybe my kids will choose to live here, I'm not sure. So that's what I'm about. The slides that I have is the people listed on this slide were some of the CAT team members. There are some people here tonight. I want to thank them for attending and supporting us in presenting. Anywhere between 30 and 50 people came to CAT team meetings from February till August. Sometimes there were more, sometimes there were less. Some people came to every meeting, some came to the ones that they could attend. So the ones in red are us tonight, are your presenters. The team was led by Mr. Gephardt and the SHP architects, who are also here tonight. The CAT team consists of staff, parents, alumni, students, community members, business partners. There's all kinds of people across the district that represented the CAT team. So the way we came about coming up with the CAT team and coming up with this presentation tonight and the recommendation is we started really with 2 facility town halls. There was one held in November at Merwin and the other one in January at West Clermont Middle School, and that's where I became involved. As a result of those town halls, then they opened up the opportunity to be a member of the CAT team and kind of talked about what that meant for this district. We also held 6 focus groups led by SHP. There were focus groups of high school students, sports boosters, music boosters, business advisory council, and the PTO leadership from our buildings. So there were focus groups involved. And then there's the 6 community advisory team meetings from February till now. We also conducted 2 surveys. Survey number 1 was internal, so it was internal emails from parents, staff, students, and we had 1,601 respondents, and we'll go over the results here in a few minutes. And then survey number 2 was with 1,500 respondents, and that survey was a little bit broader. We cast a broader net with that, and we went to community people who weren't necessarily vested in the school district, personally, on survey number 2. And so we felt that we had a pretty good representation, and we're very pleased with the number of respondents we had in the surveys. Turn it over to Lynn.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Lynn Baird. I'm a lifelong resident of Union Township, a graduate of Glen Estee High School. My husband's a graduate of Amelia High School. Our daughter is a 2024 graduate of West Clermont High School, and I have a 6th grader at the middle school. And I also volunteer in the district. And let's see, connection. Lastly, I am a 35-year employee of the Clermont County Public Library, and we are happy to be a community partner with West Clermont. Okay, so to continue on with our presentation here. So the community advisory team, as they told you so far, we have drilled down into figuring out what is important to the community's values, how are they viewing our schools. So the community advisory team worked on that, but in the focus groups, town halls, surveys, also gathered community feedback on those things. And again, drill down to the community values. There we go. So those values that were identified, I think the first 2 are sort of obvious and given in any strong community. Safety of our facilities, safety of our schools, and of course fiscal responsibility. Everyone wants the district to do as much as they can with the dollars they are given, right? What we also found was important to the community, schools at the center of the community, which in a community as large as the West Clermont district is a challenge. Also important, community conversations, having community involvement in the process, which, as Jane had described, I think we've achieved or are achieving. And then an equitable, high-quality education. I think I am the 3rd of 3 here at the table to mention that, but it is it's very important. I've experienced it in my own house. The equity. I have a daughter who went pre-K through 5th grade at Brantner Elementary, built in the 60s. I attended Brantner myself, very familiar. But my son, he did pre-K through 1st grade at Brantner, but the majority of his elementary experience was at the Summerside building. Very, very different experiences for the kids. Okay. Continuing on, important community values, innovative education. And I think that sort of goes back to the having equitable opportunities within the buildings. I think the district is, we have some great innovative things going on, especially at the high school, but harder in the at the middle school level, given the current state of that building. All right, important to the community to invest in the future. Hard to invest in the future and buildings built 60s, 70s. Need to bring those up to date. And of course, again, for me, related to investing in the future, sound infrastructure, as Steve had mentioned, supporting infrastructure in a building that is 40, 50 years old. You have to wonder if we're throwing good money after bad. All right, I think I will turn it over to Amber. talk a little more about what we learned.
I'm Amber Kleiman. I have a 7th grader at West Clermont Middle School, and I am currently the PTSO president there. I did not grow up in the school district, which I think I did not realize how many people stayed here forever. But it's a lot. When you meet these people and you go to all these meetings, like, it's clearly a place that people like to stay. And my husband and I made a conscious decision to move here. We loved the things that were happening in Clermont County and the growth that we were seeing. It seemed like an up-and-coming place to raise our family. And so coming into this, we started at Willowville, so we kind of went through this whole, we were in an old building, now we got a brand new building, so we got to see those differences. And now we're at the middle school, back to the old building. So not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a letdown for my son to go backwards to that from Willowville. But that's really one of the motivating factors for me, to learn about these facilities and see what could be done about this. So one of the, I think every time I see this slide that stands out to me is that we sent out these surveys that Jane talked about with over 3,000 responses, and the results were very consistent. Whether it was staff, students, parents, community members, we got the same responses. So one of the first questions we asked was, how important are neighborhood elementaries to you? Everybody said they're very important to us. We love the feeling of neighborhood elementary schools in this community. Kids are going to school with people that live in their neighborhood. They see them on the playground. They ride their bikes to each other's houses. They really get to form relationships that way. Do you think we're giving equitable experiences across the district? No, we don't. We need that. That's important to us. We would love to have more equitable facilities for our elementary schools especially. Obviously, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but Holly Hill and Merwin are the two that stand out right now as not having that equitable experience. We asked how people felt about the possibility of moving 5th grade to an intermediate building. People were very open to that. They thought that that would help solve some of the issues that we're seeing now as far as overcrowding. Preschool is the wild card in all of this presentation. People are very split on how they feel about that. I think there's definitely some challenges to preschool. As far as whether it would be in one facility or multiple facilities, and there's some other factors that go into that comes on a later slide. And minimizing travel time, the time the kids are on the bus, the time the parents would have to drive their kids back and forth is also an important factor into this. So this first results came out in May to the internal, and then on this slide also is the July results with the broader reach that, again,
Dan,
very
can you advance
consistent.
it one more, 'cause it, yeah, thanks.
Again, in July, the broader reach, a very consistent result. Everybody had the same responses.
Go back one.
Nope.
It had like an animation on it.
There it's blue.
It's blue. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So again, the surveys that went out in July were very consistent with the ones that went out in May, even though they went out to a broader audience for the community. So our job at the CAT was, how do we respond to all of this? The challenges that we're facing as far as the aging buildings, the inequity, the overcrowding. So the next slide is just a photo from one of our meetings where we were actively participating in answering these questions. What would the facilities look like starting, in just a dream world? If you could dream up any vision for this district as far as what you would want the facilities to look like, what would that be? So we sat in groups, we dreamed our dreams, we drew them out on papers, we talked about them, we worked on them, and this is a picture from one of those meetings that we attended. And then the next slide is kind of what some of those pictures looked like. There were some patterns, sort of 3 groups of options came in to the picture. The blue outline ones were keeping 5th grade in the elementary schools and just sort of updating our current model, newer facilities. The orange ones were moving this 5th grade into an intermediate building. So 5th grade would move to our middle school campus, but in sort of a 5th and 6th grade capacity and a 7th and 8th grade capacity. So not throwing all 4 grades in together, but moving them into that location to help maybe alleviate some of the crowding at the elementary schools. And then the green ones was just another model that I know some other districts utilize, where it's more grade banded, where maybe this school is just K through 1, this school is 2 through 4, this one is 5, 6 throughout the district. And then we got to kind of vote on some of these and determine what we thought made the most sense and which ones pros and cons, and that leads us to the recommendation we made, which Adam is going to talk about.
Hello, thank you everyone. My name's Adam Clifford. I have lived in the district for about 30 years total. So I went to Merwin Elementary, then Amelia Middle School and Amelia High School. I have a first grader at Clough Pike Elementary and a preschooler that will join her here in the near future. So as everyone has laid out here, we have a lot of challenges going on in the district, and so this is the plan that the team put together to present that we think could check most of the boxes that have been presented tonight. So on the left side here is a visual representation of what the team came up with. So the big section in the middle there, you have the new 5-6 in the new 7-8 building. So those would be on a shared property where the current middle school is. And they would be able to share all those larger aspects of the school to keep it as fiscally responsible as possible instead of having all those facilities duplicated. In the elementary section, you can see the recommendation to replace Holly Hill and Merwin. As the team has outlined, you just, quite frankly, don't get the same experience you do as students that go to the other schools. I know parents in the district that have chosen to send their kids to private school instead of attending those schools for those reasons. And then on the far left, we have the need to address preschool. We know preschool is a challenge. I know Natasha presented to us that we have more and more preschool classes each year, and that it's causing overcrowding or exacerbating the overcrowding issue that we have at the elementary schools. And so being able to get those fifth graders out of the elementary schools into a 5-6 building would free up space at every single elementary to give all the students a more equitable experience. I mean, my first grader at Clough, I know they have lack of space for their specials. She tells me that they do art on a cart in their classroom because they don't have a dedicated space all the time to do their art. They have to share it with book fair and all these other things. They do music on the stage while there's other things going on in the cafeteria right next to it. So it's just not the same experience that you get at another school. And having the fifth graders removed from that building would free up a bunch of space to be able to have a better experience at every school, including the one that my children attend. So right under that is the projected costs, and these are estimates as noted at the bottom provided by the Bradley Payne advisors. So the project cost is projected at $189 to $202 million, and when you factor in the OFCC credit, that brings the local cost for a bond issue of $145 to $160 million. And then those are outlined in the section below for the monthly and annual costs per $200,000 home. So there's all the financials of it. On the last slide here, as Randy laid out at the beginning, so we're making our presentation tonight on August 26th, September 9th at the next meeting. We are hoping for questions and discussion regarding all of this. And then for the district office team to continue with this into late September for the 2030 budget plan. Thank you.
You guys are really impressive tonight, and this has been a long journey, and we just appreciate you, not just the time you spent tonight, but the thoughtfulness that you've spent through this entire process. And I know we have a peanut gallery over there with second row, back row, whatever you want to call yourself. I want to give you guys a chance. I know you're all very passionate about what happens in this district, and if there's anything that you feel like could be reinforced tonight, or something that you would like to share from your experience, I would welcome you guys to have this opportunity with the board. I'm going to write this down, Barb. Okay, all right.
Reba didn't say anything.
All right.
Is Reba still here? She's still here.
We're going to note this for the record. And for you guys, I know now you've all had a chance to say your spiel. Is there anything else that you feel like that you heard or saw in the process that you think is important for the board to understand? Because it was intense, it was challenging, and it's not like we just flipped a coin to get here. It was pretty rigorous. And so anything else anybody would add? You did a great job, so it's not like it's necessary, but I just felt so much passion from you guys along the way, and just want to make sure you have a chance to really convey how important this is to you guys.
We spent a lot of time talking about students and facilities. And to me, there's two big issues that when this goes out to the voters, what they're going to be looking at. The two passionate subjects are money and kids. We talked a lot about kids. We talked a little teeny weeny bit about money. And I think that needs to be part of what you're doing in the next, how long do we have?
2 weeks.
So we meet again next couple of weeks. But money is going to be important. One of the things that we didn't really address is what does a school system mean to the person who's moving or looking for a new home? The business that's looking for a new place to invest money. Any other investment into the community that's going to be done. The school system is the first thing that most people look at. They're looking, they probably start with the state of Ohio ratings, and they say, okay, here's where we're rated. Well, West Clermont has made a lot of strides in moving up in the rating. It's important. But they also come and they take a look at what the facilities look like. They want to take a tour just like we all took tours. That's important. But they also look at the bottom line. What is it going to cost me to live here? And that's where the property tax comes in. So if the property tax is going to be proposed as an increase we saw on the slide here, we have to deliver the goods and the services to justify what we're going to ask the taxpayers to pay. So part of the package going forward will be to develop what we need to present to the community as a whole. The town halls are great. We can talk right to the people who attend, but the town halls don't have a truly great attendance. They need more people there. It needs more advertising. I'm just flying off the cuff here. But how do we get more people to the town halls? How do we project to them what we intend to do? How do we get them on our side? I'm here because I went to town halls. I love it. But my neighbors don't go, so I can beat on them all I want, but they still don't show up. What do we do to get them invested in how we're going to spend their money in the next year or so? So
Thank you,
that's
Steve. Yes.
something I want to just leave with you as we go forward.
No, it's very important, and thank you. And I want to just commend you. I know you've been sharing this, not just in small circles, but in larger circles. And, I said to you one night, like, the power of one person, the power of you doing what you did ended up increasing our attendance at the last town hall meeting. And that's what it takes. It takes individual conversations, personal invites, and it comes to a point where the district can go so far, and it really becomes it's a community priority, and everybody stepping in and saying, like, why this matters to them. We do have plans, like, as we go through the timeline, and we showed a sneak peek of it. We go back to it, and I'll just explain a little bit more so everyone can get a sense of how we will address some of the things you're talking about. At the next meeting, the board will have all this time from now till September 9th to read the reports, review things, ask questions, and then you guys will all be back for a deeper conversation on September 9th. And at that point, the board will make the decision to say, okay, we are seeing this as an answer to some of these challenges, yes or no, and we want you, Natasha, the superintendent, to then take this further. Start breaking down the costs at a deeper level, the operational impact, the educational impact, so that we can bring all that back. Because that's where you get into where you can be more efficient, where you might have additional costs and all that you're talking about. So we'll be able to bring that as a little bit a part of the 2030 when we talk about budget, and then in a deeper dive in October. And all the while we're bringing this information to the board, we will continue with town halls, and Dan and I are going to start another series of sessions of what we'll call Financing Our Future, where we can deep dive just on that topic and get some more engagement and conversation around what is the value, what is the investment, how does fair school funding work, et cetera. And that will be a slow drip. It'll just keep happening, little small engagements. They won't necessarily be large ones, but small ones where people can really dive in and understand. And I'll share this later in my comments, but well, I guess I'll just say it now. We're gonna be putting a series of, re-releasing the series of facility videos on social media. So that's gonna come out over the course of the next several weeks, just to remind everybody of what our facilities look like, and you can make your own comparisons and draw your own conclusions with that. On our website, we have a one-pager for every single building that breaks down, this is the challenges of these buildings, these are the strengths of these buildings, and this is maybe how, what has to be unique about each facility. Additionally, we're gonna be adding finance videos. Dan worked very hard. I think there's 11 finance videos that we'll be releasing, and they're short on purpose, to grab your attention and to help more deeply understand how financing in school works. And so with that, we'll also release an updated website. We've featured lots of tidbits about how school funding works, how we're investing the dollars, and as we get more questions, as the engagement raises, and that's certainly our goal, is to get more people around the table, we'll continue to build on those resources. And so we ask for people like you to share those with your neighbors, share them on social media, talk about them. That is how you get people engaged. It's having information and being able to wrestle with it. And we'll keep leading the board through this process so that they are as informed as possible in making their big decision that they have, which would be considering putting a vote in front of voters in May. So thank you all again. You really did an excellent job. I don't think we could have scripted it and come out with such an awesome result. I think you really did a great job. And I'll just open up the board. If you guys have questions for them right now, anything you would like to ask or things you're curious about?
I know you guys put a lot of time in and effort, and I know you did a lot of extra work, and it was way above and beyond what you would normally had signed up for your job, or, you know, everybody has jobs and families and all that, and it takes a lot of energy to do this kind of stuff and to really look into it. And I appreciate your time and your energy to do it. I appreciate your taking your time and time out of the way from the family to do it.
Can I just say, on the financial piece, I know we got a very rough crash course at some of the meetings, just of how this stuff works. So I am about as far as you could be from an expert on it. But every person I've talked to in the last few weeks discussing these topics, since we hit financials and everything, is no one understands it. So teaching people about that is going to be massive. And even with what little knowledge I have, as I explain this to people, I could see their mind change just a little bit on the idea of how a bond and a levy and how all of this integrates together.
Yes.
And I think teaching the voters of the district what all of that means is going to be massive in trying to get any of this to pass.
It is, and what you'll find here is we were very strategic in the order in which we went. And I was using this example with the board member earlier. A few years ago, when we were studying middle school start time, we had assembled a community group together, and in one of our second meetings, we started talking about how much it costs. And from that moment on, there was a shutdown in the room, because it was like, I can't bring something that's gonna cost extra money to the board as a recommendation. And we kept studying, and I said, well, the question isn't how much does this cost, the question is like, what's best for students? And so you have to decide, like, what is the vision, what is best for students? And yes, finances matter. I'm not saying that that's not important, but you can't start with that, because you start with that, and we would never have the creativity and the ingenuity that you guys had at those tables. And so that's why you start with, what is the challenge, what needs do we need to address? Then you get creative about what that could look like. Then you talk about finances, and that's the phase we're going into. So it was never meant to say, like, well, that doesn't really matter. It's hugely important, and that's the phase we're moving into now.
So a couple of things. I will echo what Ms. Spencer said. I absolutely appreciate the time and the effort that you guys took with this project. You guys took it seriously, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done with that. To echo what you two have said, I too have trying to figure out how to get the community to be engaged, and so that's why I've said them on a couple of different occasions to show up at the town hall meetings. I know myself, I actually echo what Ms. Adams says as far as giving out, and I've got myself a list as far as the next town hall meeting. And so, because the finance piece is a difficult thing to understand, I'm on the phone with Dan on a regular basis, understanding the difference. So, again, I'll plead it again tonight. The people need to get involved. The community needs to come to our town hall meetings, ask them questions, And if we don't have the answer, we'll get you the answer. Because that's the piece for us to be transparent. That's what we've echoed, that seems to be our message. We want to be transparent, so we want people to show up. But again, guys, I absolutely appreciate all the effort that you guys put into this.
All right, so we welcome you back in a couple weeks from now for more fun.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For me to wrap up with my comments, I just want to share a couple things. Number one is, I reminded you of the timeline already, but I'll hit a few other points. We would love to have more people even at the next board meeting, September 9th. We will send out a press release about this so that the whole community will know about your recommendation tonight and be informed, and hopefully that heightened awareness will get more engagement. We plan a tour at Holly Hill on September 18th. We'll do that at 5:15. Then we'll move into a town hall right after that. As I mentioned, we're going to reboot the facility video series, and we're releasing for the first time finance videos starting in September, just to tap conversation and to educate everyone a little bit more. And we'll continue this conversation over many, many, many months. I want to say tonight that we recognized Michelle Dorman earlier, and there's an article today on Cincinnati.com, if you haven't seen that, featuring her and her students. And there will be something on TV coming out, so just kind of stay tuned for that. And we're all just keeping our fingers crossed for finding out in a few weeks from now where she stands in the final selection of the Ohio Teacher of the Year. Dan and I, just so that everyone knows, will be meeting with state legislators tomorrow. We have a group of superintendents and treasurers from Clermont County who will be meeting with our legislators just to continue to advocate for school finance, to help educate them on how complicated this is, so that they are making informed decisions and understanding where we need them. So they've been very open. Mrs. Sanborn and Dan and I went up to Columbus to see them last year. Now they're coming down here, so I'm very grateful for the active participation of our legislators. And to wrap up on my comments tonight, I just want to say a special thank you to Amelia Elementary. We started it was the second day of school, but it was the first day of school for many kids, and had an emergency lockdown issue. And it was pretty significant, scary moment for people standing in that building, people outside of that building knowing what's going on. We had excellent response from our first responders. They were incredible. The leader, Shane Short, led his building very strongly, and he immediately in this process texted his families and said, "We're in lockdown, please do not come up here." And they didn't. And that was huge. It gives me chills just thinking about it now, because what that allowed us to do was to take care of the emergency at hand, which ended up, thank God, that it was a hoax, it wasn't anything real, but it allowed us not to have a second emergency on our hand to manage. And I think it's incredible to see the kind of relationship a principal and a staff has with their parents, and the fact that they would listen and respond when we requested that. I mean, that's how our safety plan is supposed to work, but it's so rare, and again, understandably so. It's everybody's precious cargo that we're dealing with. I understand that, but it was incredible. And the police department is still talking about it, because if we would have had that scene on our hands, it would have likely caused disruptions in traffic and everyone in the school district getting home late for school that day. And so, again, I'm thankful that it ended up not being anything significant, but the efforts of Amelia Elementary were just outstanding, and in collaboration with the police at the sheriff's office. And so I just wanted to mention that tonight, not to end on a bad note, but just to say how incredible that relationship with the principal and the parents are, and how important it is, especially when it comes to the safety of our students. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. We will move on to Mr. Walker.
Okay.
Oh, and I meant to mention Chuck and Randy, sorry. But Chuck and Randy were on the scene. That was just another really incredible, I mean, we are very blessed to have those gentlemen leading the charge with safety, and to be so responsive and supportive of our principals. And I meant to say you first in the list, and I forgot, so thank you. All right, Dan.
Okay. So I got another fiscal fitness minute for the board, for the community. These are posted out on the website. What I try and do is just take small pieces and not make them too long, but really try and help an understanding of what's going on. So with this fiscal minute, and you might say fiscal hour, but for this fiscal minute, what I want to talk about is our advocacy efforts and maybe some things that are going on legislatively and really that have an impact on the finances of the school district. So the first thing, we don't do things in isolation with our advocacy. There's our School Business Official Association that we belong to. There's the Superintendent's Organization, the BASA, which is the Buckeye Association of School Administrators. There's the Alliance for High Quality Education, that all of these groups really are vested in us and vested in what goes on down in Columbus. The second thing we want to talk about is the Joint Commission on Property Taxation Review and Reform. And then there's a couple bills that with those organizations, they really kind of give us a heads up to keep an eye on as we go through it. We do have a legislative tracking tool that's available to us. You can put that out there, and we'll get the most recent one out there on our drive so that the board and administrators could see. But it's a great resource for us, which really tracks the bills really from beginning to end and what the impact that they have on school districts within this state. So it's a good resource for us. The Joint Property Tax Review and Reform, what is it? You heard me talk about it in the past, but it was really set up over a year ago by our legislators, by the General Assembly to really look at, because of that historic, some people say one time only, pretty incredible increase in property values. Create a task force, that joint committee, and really look at it and see what's going on. One of the confusing things to the population is that depending on your school district, okay, even if your property values went up 20, 30, 40%, you might not have seen an increase, okay? Just because the same rules, okay, but how those rules are applied to a school district are different. We have 610 school districts within this state, and I will tell you that every one of those is unique, okay, on how property taxes impact them. So what's going to happen, that review committee is ongoing. They took a little break during the summer, but it will start back up this fall, and there will be a report that is presented to the General Assembly, to the minority leaders, the Senate, the House of Representatives, and it has to be presented before the end of this calendar year. So that is forthcoming, okay, with recommendations. In the meantime, okay, legislators don't wait sometimes for the committees to take place. There's a couple bills that are out there. This one is Senate Bill 271. It's also known as the circuit breaker. And what 271 really is doing is looking to provide some relief, tax relief to targeted homeowners and taxpayers. In this case, the eligibility is individuals with household incomes of up to $60,000, so no greater than $60,000. Their home valuations of $438,000 or rents up to $1,370. I don't know if any of you looked at rental, monthly rental, but that has gone up pretty significantly. I know our area in this state is probably one of those that has some of the highest rate of increases around it. Okay, so the relief is the state-funded property tax credit for homeowners or a refundable income tax credit for renters. Okay, so how do we look at providing, or how does the state look at providing some tax relief to those homeowners who, because of their income and because of the property valuations, may not be able to afford it? Okay, one of the Senator Blessing's comment said that this approach is preferable to other property tax relief measures because it does not make changes to Ohio's complicated property tax system, and it is means tested and broad-based. Probably the biggest understatement when he says complicated property tax system. It is very complex, okay, to do so. So that bill was introduced. It's in the Senate Ways and Means Committee, and they're having hearings on it. One that I want to focus on a little bit is House Bill 308. You hear the phrase 20 mil floor, okay, and what exactly is that 20 mil floor? Well, the 20 mil floor is if you go back in history, there were two major bills that were in place. One of them was really a bill that was in 1976, House Bill 920, and that at that time was another period of historic increases in property value. And House Bill 920 came back and said, just in short, hey, if the valuation goes up, what property owners really did or voters really did, they voted on a dollar amount. So if the property value goes up, the millage rate or the rate of taxation goes down. So it's kind of yielding that same dollar amount, okay? The very next year, 1977, the General Assembly came back and said, well, okay, although that's in place to control increases, the residents, the property owners, including commercial industrial, shouldn't pay less than 2% or 20 mils, okay? So if there is that increase and the rate goes down, that floor of what should be taxed is 20 mils or 2%, okay? We, West Clermont, okay, as a school district, have been at the 20 mil floor, which meant that House Bill 920, the one I just talked about, that where values went up and the rate goes down, the rate can't go down below 20 mils or 2%. What that means is when valuations go up in West Clermont, there is an increase in taxes, okay? We don't hide from that. You know, that's reality for our district. Within the state of Ohio, that is a growing number of districts, okay? This year it will end up being more than the majority. We'll go to that 20 mil floor, okay? So for that, okay. House Bill 308 is a bill that's coming into place that says, hey, there's two other types of levies that right now do not count towards that 20 mil floor. There are emergency levies, which we had one in 2020, and they are substitute emergency levies, which we had one that went back to 2008, I believe it was, okay? Those two levies, because they're deemed emergency, don't count towards the 20 mil floor. What this bill will do is say, hey, they do count towards the 20 mil floor. I'll show you what that impact is. What it also does is it prohibits the Board of Education, or any Board of Education, from moving their inside millage outside of the 20 mil floor. West Clermont, again, is a school district where our inside millage, which is 4.2 mils, okay, and I'll explain inside millage. Way back when, okay, and I can't remember the exact year, but it is way back when, there's 10 mills that were split up between all the overlapping governments within an area. So with West Clermont, with Union Township or Pierce Township, with the county, with the library system, with all the overlapping governments, said, hey, here's 10 mills, you guys go split it up to these overlapping governments. And those are always assessed to the, or taxed to the community at the full rate. Well, West Clermont had 4.2 mills, okay? So when your valuation goes up, those 4.2 mills are always at that full rate to do that, okay? What the Bill 308 will also do is say that, hey, if you're a school district, you can't move inside millage out to another fund. Way back when West Clermont took its inside millage, and it did go out to the Permanent Improvement Fund. That was, though, that inside millage was really for capital improvements. The way the high school is funded, or the bonds are paid off, is with that inside millage, okay? So years ago, 2017 or so, when that high school started and was built, a lot of people think that, hey, we didn't have a bond issue, so we must not have paid anything for that high school. Well, the community is. It's the inside millage that's dedicated to pay off the bonds for that high school, okay? So that's part of it. So in our Permanent Improvement Fund, that revenue goes to pay for that, and then there's a $500,000 that's used to maintain all the new buildings. Unfortunately, not the older buildings, like the middle school, like Merwin, and like Holly Hill. Okay, that $500,000 only is going towards the new buildings, okay? So the maintenance, as this committee looked at, the maintenance of some of those old buildings, that's really on us in our operating funds and some of the permanent improvement funds with that, okay? So this bill really changes things and changes the scope of things. And so It's a summary, but what's the impact of that? If I go back to a prior meeting on the fiscal minute, I presented this slide. In our operating levy, it had current mills of 29.86 mills total. That was made up of 20 inside mills, 5.21 of the emergency levy in 2020, and I misspoke, I said 2008, it was 2009 of the continuing substitute levy, okay? How does that all parlay out, okay? If we go and take levy by levy, and I don't expect you to kind of read across everything, but of those mills, and by the way, there's 57.32 mills over the period of this school district that were passed by voters. Of those 57.32 mills, the effective rate, because of the reductions, remember I talked about House Bill 920, the effective rate or the rate of taxation is down to 29.86. That's made up of two numbers, the 20 mil floor, and then of those emergency levies, which equal 9.86, okay? If House Bill 308 goes into play, okay, our 20 mil floor, we immediately come off the floor. The two emergency levies now get added in, and so our millage that counts towards the 20 mil floor just jumps up to 29.86, okay? No one's taxed anymore. They really pay the same, but if valuation goes up, unlike what happened in 2024 this year, because the valuations in 23 went up, the district would not get any other additional revenue, okay? That's a major change for this district. Historically, if you look back at this district, okay, and I gotta add one more element there. This district has always spent, their level of spending has been in the bottom quartile, the lower level of the districts throughout the state. So out of 612, 609, 10, 11, 12 districts in the state, okay, we spend in the bottom 100 and some, okay? One time it was 3 to 5%. Today it's a little bit higher. We're in the teens, okay? But even though we had some increases because of that inside millage, our dollar amount that we spend is low compared to the average in the state, low compared to similar districts in the state, okay? Low in total of all the districts in the state, okay? That's a telling number with it, okay? What's all that mean? Okay, and I say all this and I don't expect everybody to digest it the first time, but the bottom line story with House Bill 308. If House Bill 308 was in play last year, when this district had the valuation increase, that valuation increase yielded to this district about $9.8 million. If House Bill 308 was in play last year, we would not get that funding. We would have received the same level of funding in taxes, property taxes, that we've received the year before, okay? So that's the impact of House Bill 308, okay? Not saying pro or con towards it, I'm just saying that that's what the impact would be if it was enacted towards this district. So valuations are looked at by the county auditor every 3 years, okay? There's a triennial update, there's a sexennial update, just the updates are just depending on how vigorous they look at the property values. What that would mean is as we go forward, where there was some increase of taxes to this district, and yes, increase to the property owners, okay, that would not take place, okay? So two bills out there right now, okay? This House Bill 308, okay, and Senate Bill 271. And so, could both of these be enacted? Yes. Okay, one giving tax relief, the other one basically limiting the dollar amount that districts can grow by their taxes. Okay, those both are in the hopper with it. Okay, to do that. Okay, so I just wanted to give an update to the board on where those bills are at. The General Assembly is coming back into session. They're going to be having committee meetings on these. They're going to be talking about these, and they're going to be having some action on these. As the superintendent said, we have the ability to talk to our area representatives tomorrow with these bills, okay? And one thing that we want to make sure is they understand this too, okay? This is their district. We want to know the actions that they take, what's going to be the impact to the school district, okay, with that, to do that. So, hopefully I didn't confuse the whole issue. Just the two bottom line, one bill is to give some targeted tax relief. The other one is really limits the amount of property tax growth that this district will receive in the future, okay? Probably if anything you walk away with, that is it, to do that, okay? Questions from board members on those bills?
I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
good.
Goes tomorrow.
Goes tomorrow, okay.
That's right. Just, you know, in my comments, I just can't echo, you know, the work that the committee did. It just kind of, as I sit here, I'm kind of humbled. When we talk about community action teams, community advisory teams, and, you know, over my career, I've seen these groups. I've never seen in a community, members of the community come together and do work, okay? Sometimes they come and they are talked to, and they listen to and respond. But, you know, it's humbling to see people in the community, in this community, coming together, making the recommendations. These are the summary of it, the recommendations you made, but those didn't come because people were talking to you. They came because you did some work, and it is. I'm very appreciative from my, you know, point of view, all the work you did, and I really appreciate it. So thank you with that as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Moving into board comments, we'll start with Mr. Rudy.
Caught me by surprise. I was in the operations committee meeting earlier as well as the education committee. Basically, we are throwing money into aging buildings that at an alarming rate. I believe in the middle school in 5 years could be as much as $2.5 million, right?
For a roof.
For
For the
roofs.
roof.
Just a roof.
Just roofs.
The roof only.
And it still leaks.
Yeah. They've already spent about $2 million on it. No open classrooms throughout the district. The master facilities plan is a solution for the severe challenges in the class sizes. So that's something to think about with it. And I'll let Mrs. Spencer talk about the education committee.
I was in
Is
the,
that right?
yeah, I was in the education committee, yeah. And they talked a lot about innovation and rolling out the new curriculum for the English of this whole year. And then this year, they were going to kind of step back and look at just innovation for all of the schools and how that was going to be implemented and how they were going to do a tiered step for all the kids to try and get, you know, the help that they need, if they need more than just the regular instruction, if they need more other instruction or any other help, kind of more of the wraparound services. So, yeah, Ellie did a good job of that, and I appreciate the work that she did. And I know Tina got to see the pre-K. I didn't look at the pre-K. I probably should have, but I didn't get the chance to look at it. But I'm sure I looked at the other curriculum for the English, and it was good to see the wording, and I actually asked my granddaughter some questions, and she knew them, so that was good. But I did want to just comment, too, about the great work you guys did. I appreciated all the time you guys put into it. But we as board members, we're going to be asked to make a pretty big decision about the bond levy, and we just received the recommendations from the CAT team that we just got. I would like to tell the community that I take my position as a board member very seriously. I do my due diligence. I read over this is not this is not the first time we've seen all of the numbers, and we're still looking at them, and there's the surveys, and I did my best to look at everything. And I don't only just look at the data from the surveys. I also get my data from my neighbor next door And actually, I happen to be at Los Cabos on a Friday night. If you ever want to know anybody's opinion about anything, Friday night, Los Cabos is the place to be. If the community's not going to come to me, I'm going to go to them because I am just the voice of the community, and I take that very seriously. And I want everybody to know that I do that, and I'm going to do my due diligence from here, and I'm going to look at more stuff. And I feel very strongly that our district has and continues to support outstanding educators, and they have been and always will be the ones that truly make the difference in our students' lives. And I think that we have really shown that with our, number one, our teachers that are winning the awards. And my children graduated through this district, and they came back to stay here, and their children are going here too. But I want to keep in mind that I will take this all into account, and I am doing my due diligence. And a prayer is not I will take that. Go ahead, Tina.
What I'm about to say to you is coming from my heart. And it's coming from the constituents that I have spoken with and some elected officials. And it's regarding the bond levy. It says, to the West Clermont taxpayers, business leaders, community, CAT team, administrators, and DLT team. I have thought about this several weeks regarding the bond levy. I have spoken with some constituents, elected officials, and I have looked at this thoroughly. Just a minute, I lost my spot. And I cannot support this at this time. I have looked at the July survey, I have looked at Blazing New Trails, town halls, and for the following reasons, I'm not in favor of the bond levy at this time. Number one, what is the cost of maintaining Willowville Elementary, Holly Hill Elementary, Merlin Elementary, and West Clermont Middle School for a month and a year? We need, and I know we need financial help all the way around. I understand that. But we also need to look at all areas of this, speaking regarding the bond levy and the cost of how it will affect the West Clermont taxpayers. The following reasons is why I cannot support it at this time. Number one, inflation is 19.2%. Groceries is 23%. Gasoline is 22%. To get a mortgage on a new home, it's 10%. The economy is 35%. The rent is 21%. Transportation is 39%. Property taxes this year is 23%. People are living paycheck to paycheck. Some constituents are borrowing against their 401k plan that are not eligible to retire to meet their basic needs. Credit cards are maxed out, more than one, at 23 to 26% interest to meet their needs. I really feel that we as a board need to look at other options. And I'm asking the board to consider not doing it at this time and allow the West Clermont taxpayers time to recuperate from the 23% taxes that they are paying this year and have the bond levy in 2026 and the operating levy in 2027. Please join me in considering this option. People are struggling. People can't meet the needs of this district. They want to pay the school, they want to pay for the schools, they want to help the schools, but they can't do it right now. And I just hope and pray that this community will understand why I said this. And I'm very passionate about this school district. I love this school district. But I keep talking to people over and over and over again, and they say, Tina, we thank you for being on the board, but we can't afford more taxes. We can't. We just won't make it. We'll have to leave. We may lose our home. We may have to go into foreclosure. And I don't think that's fair for me to put something on the ballot knowing that these issues arise with this community and the people that live in this community. I can't do it, and I won't. And I thank you for your time.
Sanborn. Mr. Chumley?
I want to thank you all for coming out and presenting tonight. As a father, 2 children currently in school and 2 more on the way over at Merwin, I know what we're dealing with over there. I love Merwin. It's one of the reasons we moved in the house we moved into. And I love that we have community members who are just as invested, who step up and are involved. That's why I'm here today. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And I thank you for the presentation. We will discuss the recommendation at a later time, but yeah, I love it. I love what you're bringing to the table. One of the big things that I think is going on with leadership here and with what you guys are bringing is we're engaging the community. We're asking them what they want. And that's been the biggest thing. Like, we're talking to them more than I've ever seen in any other district. And that's special. And we're inviting them in and we're asking them, and it seems like they're coming more and more each step we take. So yeah, I think we have a lot of good things on the horizon because of people like you. So thank you. I want to congratulate our teachers and students who are a shining light to this district who we presented today, but that's just a reflection of what we're doing here and the people up top. So yeah, we have the best team in Ohio, so I'll continue to say that. We also have the best football team in Ohio.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. And we'll be undefeated in 2 weeks when we meet again, so good day.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. I will try not to spend too much time here, but I do feel like some things need to be said, obviously. So first of all, again, I do appreciate your guys' presentation. You guys took the time, and I appreciate everything that you guys did. I, too, am invested in this community. I have 2 children that I've adopted. They both went to the schools. I've worked at the schools. I know the amount of money that we are spending, for lack of a better word, wasting, by repairing the roofs and by, trying to make do with what we have. And so, as we move forward, we as a board, we have to make a tough decision. When we talk about constituents, my statement is this is my first term. My term will be up soon. But we as a board operate as a board, not as individuals. Individually, we have nothing. So if you run into me outside as an individual, I can echo my message that I believe from my perspective. But when it comes to making decisions, we make it as a board. So it's important that if constituents or people in the community, as I continue to say, if they have questions, if they have concerns, if they're struggling, please come forward. Come to our board meetings. Come to our town hall meetings. Come speak to us as a board so that we can all have the same information and we can have the same perspectives as 1 or 2 individuals would have, or 3. So again, as I continue to echo my message to the community, please come to our board meetings. I'll tell you the dates here in just a second. Please come to our town hall meetings. Speak to us as a board so that we can have a clear understanding what our community is doing. Because quite frankly, again, from my perspective, we see people who want the district to continue thriving as we have shown that we are. We have some that obviously are having struggles, but we have some that are not. And so it's important for the community to be able to have that choice to make the decision on what we need to do. I do apologize, I talk with my hands if you haven't realized that. Sorry about that. So again, I appreciate everything that you guys have done tonight. I appreciate all of the staff. That is what's got our district to where we are. And the only way that we're going to keep moving forward is to take chances and move forward. We took a chance by merging the schools together, and look where we're at now. We have to take chances and move forward so that we can continue moving our district forward. Otherwise, we become stagnant and we don't move, and that's not a good place to be. So I was going to echo also with Mr. Reed, but I've taken enough time. I was in the operations meeting as well, but he kind of covered some of the things that I have. So as I said here and echoed, let me tell you when our next board meeting is. Our next board meeting is September the 9th at 7 p.m. It will be here at the Civic Center. So again, that's September the 9th here at the Civic Center, and it's at 7 p.m. Please show up if you have questions, concerns, if you want Mr. Romano to go over what he calls a minute update. He will do that. Our next town hall meeting, again, as Mrs. Adams has already said, is at Holly Hill. Please come take a look at one of the buildings that we're looking at trying to remodel, or I'm sorry, to rebuild. Come look at it. Come look at the classrooms that are closets. Come look at the spaces or the lack thereof. Come take a look at that and then make your judgment. That meeting, again, as Ms. Adams said, starts at 5:15 and it is on September the 18th. So again, September the 18th, 2024 at 5:15 at Holly Hill. Please show up, take a look at the building and know what's going on. And again, at this point, we're still gathering information, so it's kind of difficult to even have a great decision made at this point because we're still gathering information, we're still getting questions answered. So I do appreciate your guys' time. We do have a reason to go into an executive session, and that is for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee, to consider the matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statute, or to consider the confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal finance statements of an applicant of an economic development assistance, or to negotiate with other political subdivisions respecting requesting for economic development assistance. I do believe that there was nothing we're going to be voting on once we come back. So once we do come back, there will be nothing that we're voting on. So at this point, I make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there any discussion? You take roll, please.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
5 yes.